It feels like every other week we bring you news from the front lines of our nation's battle for peace. But the story I'm about to share with you isn't just another military update. It's a story of resilience, of razor-sharp intelligence, and of a community breathing a sigh of relief for now. Before we dive deep into the grit of this operation, if you find these in-depth reports valuable, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps these stories coming. Let's set the scene. Imagine the vast, unforgiving terrain of Borno State. For years, this has been the stomping ground for terror, a place where the sound of gunfire at night was once a death sentence. But the winds have shifted. The troops of Operation HADIN KAI, OPHK, are no longer just reacting, they are hunting. It was the night of the 20th of February 2026. In the towns of Limankara and Kukawa, the usual tense quiet of the evening was shattered. The terrorists, feeling the noose tighten around their necks, launched desperate, coordinated attacks. Now, think about that for a second. These weren't random acts of violence. They were a calculated attempt by ISWAP and other fighters to prove they still had teeth. They wanted to reclaim the initiative. But here's where the story takes its first turn. The terrorists ran straight into a wall of steel. The troops of OPHK, anticipating such moves, were waiting. The assaults were decisively thwarted. From a military perspective, this is a textbook. But let's put ourselves in the boots of those soldiers. Imagine the tension in the air, the crackle of the radio, the sudden flash of an explosion on the horizon. They stood their ground, not just for their own lives, but for every sleeping civilian behind them. The failed assaults were more than just a tactical loss for the terrorists. They were a clear signal of the immense pressure collapsing their enclaves and disrupting their logistics corridors. They are being forced into chaotic withdrawals, leaving their dead and wounded behind as they flee. But the military didn't stop there, and this is the part that really shows how the game has changed. Now, let's fast forward to the early hours of the 22nd of February. The setting is around Lamusheri Village in Gujba local government area. This wasn't a place you would want to be caught unawares. Weeks of meticulous intelligence work had gone into this moment. We're talking about men and women in rooms filled with monitors, studying satellite imagery, cross-referencing tips from the ground, and using high-altitude intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance platforms, the eyes in the sky that never blink. These assets had identified Lamusheri. It wasn't just a hideout, it was a key terrorist attack launchpad and a bustling logistics hub. This was the place where they planned the mayhem, where they stored the weapons, and from where they departed to spread fear. The troops of Sector 2, operating under the banner of Operation Desert Sanity V, moved out. Picture the scene. A column of determined soldiers and their vehicles cutting through the dark bush, the only sound the soft crunch of tires on sand and the whispered prayers of men about to go into harm's way. With them were members of the Civilian Joint Task Force, CJTF, local vigilantes whose knowledge of the terrain and the enemy is often the difference between success and failure. As they approached the target, the silence was ripped apart. They came under fire. The terrorists, likely startled but battle-hardened, reacted. At this point, a lesser force might have faltered, but not these troops. They didn't just charge headlong into the kill zone, they executed a brilliant tactical maneuver. Working in synergy with the CJTF, they outflanked the terrorist position.
Imagine the confusion in the minds of the fighters. 1 minute they are firing at an approaching enemy. The next, they realize their escape routes are being cut off. The trap was sprung. They were completely outmaneuvered. The ensuing firefight was intense, but it was a one-sided affair. When the guns fell silent and the dust began to settle, the grim tally was clear. 15 terrorists lay neutralized. Scores more fled into the unforgiving bush, many of them trailing blood from gunshot wounds. They left behind more than just their bed. During the exploitation of the camp, a dangerous job where soldiers sift through the remnants for intelligence and weapons, they made stunning discoveries. They found and destroyed extensive defensive positions and life support structures. This wasn't just a temporary camp. It was a small village dedicated to terror. They set ablaze 5 terrorist tricycles and 2 vehicles, all primed for attacks and logistics runs. The contents, likely including ammunition and supplies, went up in flames with them. And then there was the cash. Arms, ammunition, bandoliers of bullets, and tactical camel pouches, all recovered. Every single weapon recovered is a future attack that will never happen. Every pouch of ammunition is a family that won't receive news of a tragedy.
Away from the military jargon, think about the people of Gujba. For weeks, they may have noticed unusual movements, seen strangers passing through, or felt that familiar knot of fear in their stomachs. They live with the knowledge that just beyond the safety of their town, a launch pad for terror exists. How do you sleep at night? How do you send your children to fetch firewood? This operation was for them. It was to ensure that the next time they look towards the bush, they do so with a little less fear. The community reaction, though we often don't hear it directly in press releases, is one of quiet gratitude and renewed hope. When troops dismantle a hub like Lamusheri, they are not just killing fighters, they are reopening roads for farmers, allowing markets to function, and letting children dream of a future that isn't defined by conflict. Another angle to this issue is the sheer desperation of the terrorists. These attacks on the 20th and the presence of a hub at Lamusheri show they are trying to adapt. They are trying to consolidate. Why? Because Operation HADIN KAI is systematically dismantling their leadership. These decapitation efforts are real. Imagine being a foot soldier in the bush right now. Your commanders are being picked off one by precision airstrikes and special forces raids. Your supply lines are cut. You can't communicate freely because the military is listening. You are hungry, hunted, and hopeless. That is the reality for these ISWAP fighters now. Their attacks on Limankara and Kukawa were the thrashing of a cornered snake.
From this point, we need to understand the bigger picture. This isn't just about winning gunfights. It's about winning the peace. It's about holding the ground that has been cleared. It's about ensuring that when the troops leave Lamusheri, the CJTF and local intelligence networks are strong enough to spot if the terrorists try to creep back in. So what is the bigger lesson for public safety here? It's the absolute necessity of synergy. This operation succeeded because of weeks of intelligence, some of which likely came from ordinary citizens who saw something and said something. It succeeded because of the synergy between the Air Force, the ISR platforms, and the ground troops. It succeeded because of the trust between the military and the civilian joint task force. We, as a community, are part of that synergy. If you see movement in the bush that doesn't seem right, if you hear of strangers in your village, if you notice anything unusual, you have a role to play. Don't assume someone else will report it. And this brings me to a critical question for you, our viewer. In your own community, how strong is that bond of trust between the people and the security forces? Do you feel empowered to share information, or is there still a barrier of fear? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get this conversation started, because awareness is our first line of defense. If you're just joining us, remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in this ongoing story.
As the sun rises over Borno once more, the theater is quieter, but the war is not over. The terrorists who fled Lamusheri with bullet wounds are out there, a danger to any community they stumble into, desperate for help and for a place to hide. The troops of OPHK will be on their trail. They will follow the bloodstains and the intelligence gathered from the captured materials. This story from Limankara, Kukawa, and Lamusheri is a testament to the courage of our soldiers and the resilience of our people. It's a reminder that peace is not a gift. It is a prize that must be fought for daily by soldiers in the bush and by civilians in their towns. The freedom we enjoy is paid for by their vigilance. So, as you go about your day, remember the scene at Lamusheri. Remember the 15 terrorists who will never threaten another village. Remember the vehicles burning, the weapons captured. And remember the families in Gujba who can sleep a little easier tonight. Our duty as citizens is to stay alert, to support our troops, and to build the kind of communities where terror cannot find a fertile ground to grow. We must cooperate with security agencies, not just when it's convenient, but as a way of life, because in this fight, we are all on the front line. Thank you for taking this journey with me. If this story moved you, or if you believe in the importance of our security forces, please hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. We will keep telling these stories, and you can help us keep telling them. Stay safe and stay away.